So fixing your cold email campaigns can be a pain in the ass because it's not very obvious what has gone wrong. So what I'm going to do in this video is dive into how we fix campaigns and sort of the logic that we walk through so that we can remove certain issues that it could be and we leave it with sort of the main ones, and I'll show you how you can tackle those. So just for a bit of social proof, this is the last 7 days. We have contacted 22,000 new leads, and we've gotten 619 replies at a reply rate of 2.71%, and we've had 111 calls booked at a call booking rate of 0.49%. Now you'll see that some of these, so these are all different companies that we are partnered with, some of them have way higher book call rates, reply rates, and some of them have way lower, let's say, book call rates or reply rates. So it does vary. But those are the averages that we're looking at for the last 7 days. So first thing, how do you know if a campaign is underperforming? So what is the red flags? So the first thing is the timeline that you look at this data. So we look at things on a 7-day timeline. I know some other agencies look at it, longer timelines than that, 10 or 14-day periods. The reason why nobody really looks at it on a longer time frame is because email accounts can get burnt, and you can kind of notice that drop off relatively quickly if you know what you're looking at. And you don't want to be sending out a whole lot of emails through burnt email accounts because you're just not going to get replies and you're going to waste money. So you want to look at them on a shorter time frame. And I would recommend a 7-day time frame. So what do we look at? Reply rate less than 1.5%. And you look here. So some of these are less than 1.5%. You've got this one, except they've got 6 book calls. They've had 10 replies and 6 of them turned into calls. So that's fine for that one. Potentially there could be some optimization there to get their reply rate up. We've got this one definitely has some deliverability issues, I would say, just by looking at this data. So, and then there's this other one here. We'll have some deliverability issues by looking at this data. So if the reply rate's less than 1.5%, I'll say typically a deliverability issue. But there's nuance here. If you are emailing restaurants and you're getting less than a 1.5%, I would say definitely a deliverability issue. If you're emailing banks and you're getting less than a 1.5% reply rate, I would say maybe not a deliverability issue. So it depends on the industry, but that's typically what you look at when you're looking at reply rate. Call booking rate less than 0.3%. So if you're getting replies, but people don't want to get on the phone, then typically it's an offer issue or a nurture issue, meaning that if you're getting replies and not many of them are positive, then you get into the inbox, but they're not interested in what you do. So you change what you do or what you're saying that you do to match them better. If you're getting people that are saying they're open to learn more and you're not getting them on the phone, that's a lead nurture issue. Okay, so that's pretty clear. This number, 0.3%, is literally just a number that we've come up with because that is where we sort of have it cut off. So these are 0.3% or below, and these are the ones that I would look at improving the most. If you're profitable of 0.1%, then that's fine. If you need this to be 0.5%, then that's fine. 0.3% is pretty good. I would say that's relatively high, but we're quite aggressive with booking and calls. So our show rate on these calls is only around 0.7 to 0.75% across the portfolio. So some people will book less calls because they need to make sure they confirm a time and a phone number before booking in the call, which we don't. So this will be lower, but what really matters is how many opportunities you have to pitch. Okay. And the last thing we look at, the show rate is less than 75% after follow-ups. So if this is the case, then it's typically a reminder, workflow, reconfirm issue, but it can also be an offer issue. What I mean by that is there's going to be 2 reasons why somebody's going to no-show to a call. One is they forget about the call. This is not super often because they're going to typically get text reminders, email reminders, and it's going to be in their calendar. So really the reason why someone no-shows to a call is they just do not see the call to be that valuable to them. And maybe when they agreed over email to the call, it was valuable to them, but in the meantime, their daughter has stubbed their toe, and now that's more important than the call. And so much more important that they're not even going to bother to send you a message and say, hey, my daughter stubbed her toe. Can we do this in an hour or tomorrow? So improving the offer is probably going to be one of the biggest ways to improve your show rate if you've already got your reminders and workflows set up correctly. So I'm just going to go through a bit of BEDMAS, but for cold email. So essentially, what is the order of operations that you would go through to systematically solve an issue if one of these has come up? So I'm really going to be talking about these two, which is if you look at your data and you see that your reply rate is less than 1.5% or your call booking rate is less than 0.3% over the last 7 days, what are you going to do? So the first thing you're going to check is the bounce rate too high? So I've got in here, and just zoom in here a bit, you can see that a few of these have a really high bounce rate, 8%, 11%, so that will cause issues. So I'm just putting this in here first because let's say the bounce rate's above 3%, just solve that right away, okay? Because that's going to cause issues and it's really easy to check. You can just look in instantly or Smart Lead. Is the volume being sent? This is the next one. So you can look at these, some of these. If we send less than 500, so let's just take this one for example, we've only sent 120 leads in the last 7 days. So you just want to make sure you're sending the volume, because if you're not sending the volume, then the data doesn't really mean that much. Okay, so make sure you're sending the volume. And if you're not sending the volume, it's because your settings have either changed or are wrong, or you've run out of leads, or you've got a lead uploading issue. Okay, for us, typically we run out of leads. If we're not hitting the lead volume, it's because we've run out of leads, and that's typically because when we verify the emails, too many of them are unverified than what we expected. So we're actually kind of caught out a little bit where we don't have as much leads as we thought we did, and we're falling a bit behind on that front. So that is another issue that comes up, is the volume being sent. So again, easy to check. You can just look at how many emails you've sent. Are some of the emails vastly underperforming others? So we use clusters, and I'll explain what that means. And we came to this conclusion, and we thought we were real smart for coming to this conclusion, but we're not the only ones that have come to this conclusion. But we called it clusters, and other people call it something else, and I'll show you what that means. And if some clusters are vastly underperforming, we assume they're burnt and replace them. So what that means is if I go into Smart Lead, and I'm going to go into the campaigns. So we have a folder for each client. If you go to folders, and I'll just pick a random one here. What would be a good one to show? We're running 2 angles here, but all the ones that say, let's say secret shopper, secret shopper, secret shopper, secret shopper, secret shopper, secret shopper, they're all actually the same, right? All that's happened is we've duplicated it and changed the email accounts. So you've got this one and you've got this one, right? This is a perfect example. This one has got a 3.17% reply rate, and this one's got a 0.85% reply rate. Okay? Even though they're exactly the same. So what this means is that it's likely that email accounts associated with this one are burnt. Okay? So you can change out some of these because we're not getting anywhere near enough replies on this one, and so we're kind of wasting leads. And you can just assume that that's because there's email accounts in here which have been burnt, and there's not email accounts in here which have been burnt, or at least enough of them are not burnt that you're getting the reply rate that you're after. So hopefully that makes sense. What you just do is we have 6 email accounts per cluster. So let's say you're either going to go 2 domains, 3 email accounts per domain, these are 6, so you can go 3 domains, 2 per domain, these are 6. So each of these will have 6 email accounts, and then you just duplicate the campaign. Same settings, same lead list. Well, you're obviously going to send half to this lead list and half to this lead list, but from the same scrape. You're going to, it's all going to be exactly the same, except the email accounts are going to be different. And so you'll know, like in there, where one of them is getting a 400% better reply rate than the other. The only thing that's different is the email accounts that they're coming from. So some of those email accounts have issues, and that's how you highlight that. Okay, so that's something that I would look at. Are some email accounts vastly underperforming others? Right, and so that's how you look at that. What are the replies saying? So this probably, you can check these really quickly and kind of find any major issues. right? What are the replies saying? So this is where it starts to get a bit more nuanced and where experience starts to play a role, and where doing this a lot will start to benefit you. So what you do is, we'd use the master inbox, but lots of people don't use the master inbox. You're going to come in here and you are going to start to look at all the replies, right? And how I would do it is, you're just going to filter them by the campaign. So let's say DC. Right, and because we're using clusters, each client has a lot. You're going to come in here and you're going to read what the replies say, right? So this is just like an automated response, etc. So you're going to come here and you're going to read all the replies. And if you see they're just out of office replies, so essentially you've been not tricked, but you're like, I'm getting replies, but no one's booking calls. But you go and check the replies and they're all out of office replies, or like the vast majority of them out of office replies. You're actually not getting replies then, and they've probably burnt. The clusters are probably burnt. Okay, so if you're just getting out of office replies, then you've probably got burnt clusters. Are people telling you that you've got the wrong name, or that the wrong business? Right. So some people are like, hey, who's Sally? Who's Tom? Who's Steve? There's no Steve that works here, right? Or are people saying like, hey, we're not a hardscaping business, we're this type of business, okay? So now there's a lead list issue, right? So the leads will tell you if there's a lead list issue, and I can talk about that in a bit. Are there calls sitting there that haven't been booked? So if you go through and you're like, hey, I'm getting these replies, but I'm not booking in calls, and you go and look at all the replies and you're like, there should be calls here, like I can see people responding positively, now you've identified it's a lead nurture issue. So going and looking at the replies is going to be one of the most helpful things, because it can kind of point to a range of different issues, okay? So that's what you do next. The next thing I do is I see if I'm running a split test, which is what's down here. If I'm running a split test, I would go and see if one is outperforming the other, and am I happy with the one that's performing the best? Yes. If I am, just move everything onto that test, because now you've got a campaign that you're happy with, okay? And this is just a sanity test on the lead list. So if you've gotten through all of this, right, and you're like, look, I think that everything is fine, what I then do is I do a sanity test on the lead list. So you go into a campaign and you just double check, and it's because this is easier than changing the offer. You just go in and double check. I'm just going to pull up a random one. You go to the lead list that you've been uploading, and you're going to download it, and you're going to look at all of the companies, not all of them, but you're going to look at like 15, 20 of them, and make sure, okay, this is for hardscaping, so I'm just going to go and like pull up 5 of them and make sure they are all people that should be interested in the offer that I have, okay? And if I look at them, we've got, yes, they should be interested, 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 yes, they should be interested. So go and just double check that your lead list is on point. So if you've gotten to this point where you're happy with the lead list, the inboxes aren't burnt, the volume's being sent, the replies aren't pointing out anything obvious that you're doing wrong, you can be pretty certain that it's going to be a copy or offer issue, and they're kind of the same thing. It's going to be an offer issue. What is the reason that you're reaching out to them? So what I've got here is a link to, as I showed you earlier, where we're getting these replies and these book call rates. Here's all the copy that is being used to get those replies and book call rates. So you can have a look at these. This has got the reply rate of this, a call booking rate of this. So what you can do is you can go and download this. There should be a link below this video to download this document, and you can use the same angles and offers here to improve your reply rates and book call rates. Okay, so that is one thing you can do, is you can start to look at what we're doing, and you can kind of understand how the principles we use could be applied to your business or your clients' businesses. But just as an overview, to improve the offer this is essentially what you can do. So you can make the outcome more desirable. You can make the outcome more specific. And why you'd want to make it more specific is because it then makes it more believable. Because let's say you made the outcome very desirable. You emailed everyone and you said, hey, I've got $10,000 sitting here. All you need to do is reply to this email and I'll give it to you. You're not going to get many serious replies at all because people do not believe you. And they do not believe you because you've only got a few lines of text to essentially show that you're legit. If you're very specific about the outcome, it makes it more believable and hence more people are going to bite on it. So the analogy I like to use, that's stupid but gets the point across, is if you rolled your ankle playing basketball and you've got two painkillers, you've got your regular painkiller and the rolled ankle playing basketball painkiller, you're going to believe that this one works more effectively because it's more specific to your scenario. So if you're doing outbound to hardscaping companies, as I was showing before, and you generate them leads, if you say, hey, we help get hardscaping companies more leads, or we say, hey, we help hardscaping companies get more residential paver leads, most of these are people who have just purchased their property and they're looking for solutions because of poor drainage. So something specific, right? This one is going to be more believable, and so you're going to get more replies. Okay, so make the outcome more desirable, make the outcome more specific. Add risk reversal. So even guarantees now, people are pretty jaded because they know that a lot of them don't really mean anything. So if you're going to talk about guarantees, be specific about the guarantee, e.g., we guarantee this amount of results or XYZ happens. Or you can say, hey, we don't get paid till after you get paid. We work on a pattern results basis, something to reverse the risk because you're reaching out to them. So if you say, hey, I've got this awesome thing, and they say, and what if it doesn't work? And you say, well, too bad. It doesn't work like that. You have to say, I have this awesome thing, and I'm so confident that it's going to work for you that I'll take on the risk. Okay? And the last one, which is a huge topic, but test a valuable lead magnet, something that they would otherwise pay for. And that's the key. No one cares about your case study or your webinar. It needs to be something they would otherwise pay for. Hey, I've got leads sitting here. Do you want them? They know that they'd usually pay for them. Right? So it has to be something of value. So again, hopefully you got some value out of this. If you've got any questions, just leave them down below. I would recommend downloading this and saving it somewhere. If you are going through YouTube learning more about cold email, then lots of people will have their copy somewhere. So what I've done is for us, when we were sort of getting our feet wet and learning this, is I would just download all of them and have them in a big Google Sheet that I'll use. So feel free to download this, add this to your master file, and look at it when you're trying to adjust your copy or offer. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.